Hi, welcome to the Sprouting Homestead. Today I'm going to show you how I turn my tomatoes into tomato sauce and can it so that it is shelf stable and ready to be used anytime. So I harvest my tomatoes in the summer, but I do not like to process them right away. I did make salsa in the summer and that's fine, but I save my big tomato sauce days or when I make ketchup for the fall and winter because I have more time to spend inside. It's cold, I don't want to be outside, and in the summer the canner heats the house up so much. I don't like doing it. So I pour my tomatoes and I pop them in the freezer and I pull them out the night before and they are ready to be used. So let me show you exactly how I do it. So the first thing you'll notice when you do freeze your tomatoes is they collect a lot of liquid in the bag and they shrink down quite a bit. Now you can use this liquid, it would be good in like rice or something. You could definitely cook with it, but if you put all of this liquid into the pot with your tomatoes, it would take double the time to cook down. And we don't want to have to waste our time evaporating all of this water. So I'm just going to get rid of all of the liquid that is in the bags, and then I'm going to take the skins off and toss them in my pot. Once your tomatoes are thawed, you'll see that the skins pop right off. If you don't want to do this, you could also just run them through a food mill, but I wanted one less dish to wash, and this isn't a very big batch. But the skins are off and the tomatoes are in the pot and they just fit. I might be pushing this pot to its limit. But we are gonna let these tomatoes heat up because most of these were still pretty cold and a little bit frozen in the center. So this is gonna take a little bit longer to heat up and those tomatoes to fully soften. It would take a lot less time if these were fresh tomatoes, but that's okay. So I have this on a medium-low heat and I'm just gonna let these soften up to the point where I can start mashing them and get in there with an immersion blender. Once this is all blended, I'm gonna let this simmer for a few hours or as long as it takes until this is at the thickness that I like. I let this cook down until those tomatoes were nice and soft, and then I'm gonna blend this. I'm using my immersion blender, but if you don't have one, you can do this in batches in your blender. Just be careful because this is hot. You're gonna blend it until it is nice and smooth. I'm going to let this reduce for a couple hours, keeping an eye on it until it reduces to the thickness that I like. It has reduced almost by half. I just stirred it every 10 to 15 minutes or so, scraping the bottom, making sure it's not burning. It made a little bit of a mess, but it's pretty thick now. So I'm gonna start by adding my spices and my herbs and let that simmer for another 5-10 minutes just while I get my jars and everything ready. You can add whatever dried herbs and spices you'd like, or you can go ahead and leave your sauce plain. Adding dried herbs, spices, and even sugar will not affect the safety of your canning, so you can add as many as you'd like. Tomato sauce is really easy and beginner friendly because you can water bath can it or pressure can it. I'm choosing to pressure can mine because this is my biggest pot and it will hold a lot more jars than my water bath canner, and the time for this is a lot shorter than water bath canning. So I'm going to use mine, but use yours as directed in your manual because everyone is a little bit different. Mine is a dial gauge pressure canner, not a weighted gauge. But for mine, I have the rack in the bottom and I have to fill mine with a minimum of 2 liters of water. I'm not putting the lid on the canner tight right now because I'm not trying to create any pressure in here yet. I'm just trying to get this water heated up a little bit so that my hot jars with hot sauce don't go into a canner with cold water because that could cause them to shock and break. Before filling my jars, I made sure to wash them in hot soapy water so that they were sterilized and so that this hot sauce was not going into cold jars. We also add lemon juice to each jar before adding the sauce to ensure that the acidity is at the proper level. So you're going to add 1 tablespoon of bottled lemon juice per pint jar and 2 tablespoons per quart jar. We are filling these to a 1/2 inch headspace and double checking with our headspace tool Once your jars are filled and you ensure you have the proper headspace, go ahead and wipe the rims with a wet towel to make sure that those lids seal properly. Once your jars are filled, we can add our lids and our rings, making sure that we use new lids every time and only screwing those rings on fingertip tight. I highly recommend getting some jar tongs. These are really helpful for getting your jars in and out of that hot water and ensuring that you are not going to break any jars. I got these at the local hardware store, but you can also get them on Amazon. Now every pressure canner is a little bit different, so please refer to your manual. But we are going to secure the lid and we are going to let our pressure canner vent for 10 minutes. We're going to let the steam release for 10 minutes. Once that 10 minutes is up, we're going to add the proper weight. For my canner, that means adjusting this knob, and I'm turning mine to 3. This is all based on your elevation. We're going to turn this heat up to high, and we're going to get that needle into the corresponding number, and we need to make sure that that needle does not leave. You're going to need to adjust your temperature throughout the 15 minutes of processing. Once your processing time is up, simply turn the heat off on your stove, and you're going to see that needle drop, which means the pressure is dropping. And now that our pressure canner has cooled and the pressure has released, we can remove our jars onto a towel, being very careful because these are boiling hot. Once you have all the jars out of your canner, let those sit on the counter undisturbed for 12 to 24 hours before checking the seals and putting them on your shelf. So I've got my tomato sauce canned up, cooled down, and putting it on the shelf so I can have fresh homemade tomato sauce anytime I need. I ended up getting 14 jars, which is enough for the 2 of us to last until this upcoming summer harvest where I can can up some more. But I hope you enjoyed this canning video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!